Welcome to Words Apart. This week we've got quite a special week, I think, because this is the most number of people we've had in the room. So it's exciting, and the conversation's already been flowing, so it's great. So Mim and I this week will be interviewing Africa and Alice around many different subjects, mostly around feminism, womanism, and about their specific projects that they've been putting in place themselves. Over to you guys, and introduce yourselves and what you've been up to.
Do you want to start?
Okay, I'll start. My name is Alice, and I currently run a feminist club night called Medusa. It's to push all female lineups into the electronic scene, but all the money goes to women's charities, and we also have a safe club space policy, so we have people in the club making sure there's no harassment of any kind going on. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's been good so far.
And I am Africa Brooke. I am a writer, I'm a speaker and an advocate. And my area of interest and focus really is sexual empowerment and raw sexual liberation. And when I talk about that as well, it's not just focusing on heterosexual penetration, because I think when you say sex, people think penetration. It's advocating for better conversations surrounding sexual health and just understanding that there is life and pleasure beyond heteronormativity. I think that's very important to me. And I also speak and write a lot about holistic self-development and sobriety and mental health, and all the other intersections of that. And I started doing this work because I had a very big problem with alcohol, and I got sober 2 years ago. So in getting sober, thank you. So in getting sober, a lot of things were brought to the surface for me. A lot of sexual shame, a lot of sexual repression. I was healing from religious dogma and trying to strip myself of the conditioning of Christianity and really learn who I am as a Black woman. And just through telling my story online, anonymously at first, I found that I could use my voice in a very powerful way to help other people feel empowered, to help other people connect with themselves. And now it's my duty and purpose to bring that offline as well, because I think sometimes an echo chamber can be created where you feel like this is all it is. You start your space online and you forget that people also need this work in more tangible spaces.
Yeah, that's definitely a new topic, I think, that when I was looking on Cherry Revolution, and I was just thinking there's things that I'd never even thought about before, and about the shame that we can feel as women for being sexual. And how did you sort of get into that process of thinking of like advocating for like, positivity around sex and for women to speak up? Like, when was the moment you sort of...
So it started when I broke up from my 3-year relationship, which was last year in August. And it was a sexless relationship. When I stopped drinking, I just didn't feel desirable anymore, because of most of my sex happened when I was drunk. It happened when I was blackout. It happened to a point where I don't even know half of the people that I've slept with. And I've slept with a lot of people, but all of it was either drinking or on drugs. Right. So when I stopped drinking, I wasn't able to feel desirable at all. So that started to manifest in my relationship. So we ended up breaking up, not for that reason, but it was one of the reasons. And then I just went on a journey of self-discovery. It wasn't as profound as that, as me saying I'm going on a journey of self-discovery. That's not how it happened.
Really
I was forced to look at myself in
painful.
a way that I hadn't before. And I started experimenting with self-pleasure, because I knew that I had to work with my own body before looking for a partner, which I'd been doing most of my life. And everything that I learned, I would always bring into my friendship group, my 2 best friends especially. And one day in November last year, we were just having lunch and then talking about sex. And I said to them, instead of kind of just having these conversations why don't we do something that can take it on a wider, kind of keep the conversation going? So we decided to do T-shirts. We were like, okay, we're just going to do like 20 and then just, she's amazing.
So I'm just gonna...
Oh my god!
That's to me.
It's such a good slogan. Well, not slogan. I don't know. Slogan's not the right word. Yeah.
I love that.
Alice is just taking her jumper off to show one of the t-shirts.
So the t-shirt Alice is wearing now, the Death to Faking It t-shirt, is something I actually shouted during that lunch. I was like, death to faking it. I was like, death to faking orgasm.
Yeah,
basically, I went off on like a monologue.
Yeah, no, it's true though. But it applies, in, like, obviously, or like to orgasms, it applies, but it applies to so much. Like, I just feel like, and maybe as a like, not just as a woman, as a person, like in your 20s, it's just like, you're just, I don't know, maybe not in the person you want to be, and you're like, trying to be more authentic.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. But definitely as a woman, like, what you're saying before about like feeling more desirable.
Yes.
Through alcohol and drugs, like, definitely think that you perform some femininity that you may not necessarily, that's maybe easier to do when I don't know, but yeah, so
like what you've seen,
exactly.
Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of, so from there, from the t-shirts and just sharing our stories online, it wasn't intentional for it to become what is seen as activism or advocacy even at that time. It was kind of just like journaling, almost like open journaling, and using our stories to see what else is out there, to see if anyone else is going through the same thing. And then quickly after, I think 2 months after, it became clear that it was much bigger than myself or any of us, and that it had a life of its own, and that what we had and what I have now is something that will live on even after me, because it's that big, because shame affects every single one of us, even the most empowered. You know, and I don't know if you all agree, but sometimes it's especially the people that seem the most empowered that hold the most shame, because you're trying to fight against this thing, so you want to prove that you don't have it, but if you don't deal with it, it does deal with you instead.
So, you know, with like speaking about self-care, I guess that is like such an important thing. And it's something that has been spoken about widely recently, a lot more than ever. I think self-care was probably something that people like didn't really want to do, or didn't even think that it was necessary. And, like,
definitely.
Kind of, what are your journeys with self-care, and like how has that affected what you do now and what you can like give back?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very long, complicated journey with self-care, I guess. I went to uni originally in Norwich and UEA when I was 18, and I'd been experiencing depression for a couple of years before that. And I hoped the change of environment would be like a new lease of life. Not thinking that I saw a therapist every week, that I'd need one in Norwich. I didn't even cross my mind. It was like, drinking and drugs were really new, and sex was really new at that age to me as well. So I literally had it was probably the opposite of self-care. There was periods where I used to get up about 4 p.m. in the winter, so I didn't see daylight for about 2 weeks. And it was like, I don't know, I just go out, get a ready meal, just nothing I would advocate to anyone whatsoever. And I think someone told me recently is like, what would you treat your daughter this way? Like, what would you do? Like, what would you be telling her to do? And that really shifted a lot in me. I mean, I'm still not great, to be honest, but I'm not that bad at all. There was kind of forced to end up taking a journey to self-care, in which I think I looked externally for that being held a lot. I looked for that a lot in romance, men, and just finding that these avenues were never good, and I was sexually assaulted at uni, which was obviously shit, and experienced, I guess, PTSD as it's now, and just very weird headspace in which I was having panic attacks all the time, and then. And I think the friends I had at uni didn't understand. I mean, I didn't understand what the fuck was going on, and neither did they. And it was very much like I needed to drop out because I was feeling horrendous and suicidal, I guess. So that kind of happened. But again, I came back home, was expecting my parents to completely pick me up and do everything for me. But it was there's also this dissonance between what our culture understands as mental health and what I experienced. And I couldn't get help from the NHS. We couldn't really afford therapy that was deep enough. It was like counselling, which was great, and I love my counsellor, and she's been amazing. So yeah, it was down to me ultimately, and that became like meditating every day. Going to the gym a lot more than I did, and like trying to eat healthily, and getting a job actually, which was really helpful, because even though it was the most anxiety inducing thing at the time, I pushed through that anxiety. Medusa's been a self-care thing in that way. Like, obviously it's not just about me, but it's been able to shift my focus off validation from someone else or someone trying to save me, but also like, I guess, doing something I'm purely interested in because I'm interested in it. Purpose, because I just used to think obsessively that a relationship with a man would save my life. Like, it's so bizarre to me. This year is the first year I just vehemently don't believe that. And I haven't dated really since November, and it's been like the best thing ever. Frankly, I'm quite scared to date again, because it just, when I think of the peace of mind I've cultivated. Self-care for me, I guess, would be meditating a lot, running a lot as well, actually. Used to run like 3 times a week. And just not dating at the moment. But obviously it's a process and a journey, and it probably will change. But I think as much as I don't like being loud about the sexual, I mean, I've got stuff on it about Instagram, on Instagram about it. But also I don't want to be like, oh, I'm obviously creating Medusa because that happened. But I think that's definitely not a cause, but it plays into it, because I want to keep people safe in a club environment, and
also like a healing process.
Definitely.
Like, make sure that you can create spaces that allow things to happen that have happened to you. And
it really triggers me when other people are or like, even last night there was this guy that came up to my friend who I don't really know very well, and she's 18, 19. I don't really know her as someone who works at my old work, and I don't work there anymore. And he was relentlessly chatting her up, and I was like, told him her age, and he was like, oh, it's not a problem for me. And I was like, well, it should be. And then just made me so angry. I think self-care is a journey, and it does change. Like, dating currently is not a form of self-care for me, but I think when I do date, it will be very like, these are the things I want in a person, and kind of just be like, if you don't fit them, then I don't really want to make allowances anymore. Be like, oh, well, he said this thing, or he did this thing once, or, he doesn't reply. And it's like, no, actually, you're not right. You don't need to cling on to someone.
For me, I think self-care, I know that self-care is something that I've only been familiar with in the past 2 years since getting sober, and I think it's also something that I'm realizing that I get to define what it looks like to me, because I think we see many versions of it that we think are fixed, or we think it's having 20 candles and having fancy baths and having flower petals and drinking wine in the bath. We see all these performances of self-care to the point where we think what we can do for ourselves is not enough, because sometimes you can only do the bare minimum. Being able to get out of bed that day is self-care. Being able to make your bed that day, being able to wash your clothes, wash your underwear, that might be self-care. Washing the dishes. It's very different for everyone. And I realized that for me in my healing journey, it also looks like saying no if I really mean no, rejecting things. If I know that I'm too tired to take on things, I don't take them on. It's about seeing that self-pleasure is a form of self-care, that I can make love to myself, that I can flirt with myself, that I can understand that everything that I've been reserving for a partner I can do with and to myself. That is self-care to me. Having the right people around me, that is self-care. I don't get to, it's something I talk about all the time, but I don't practice it every single day as I should, because we are human. And I think sometimes life does take its toll and you kind of forget and you veer off. But I think as long as you remember just to do the smallest thing for yourself, for me, that's what it is. But it's something that can always be redefined, I think.
Definitely. No, I completely agree. And I think the sort of like almost like romanticized images that we see of self-care is so toxic as well. And it's just quite dangerous.
you know, we're very disconnected. I think women, femmes, and people with vulvas, we're very disconnected with that part of our body, with our pussy, for a very long time. And I'm sure there's a listener that will hear the word pussy and be like, because I use that word very intentionally, because we have been made to believe that it's an insult. We've been made to believe that part of our body is an insult, you know, and we're at a point where we call it a vagina when that's not actually medically correct. A vagina is actually the canal, the vaginal canal. It's a vulva. A vulva accurately encapsulates everything that is going on. But I call it pussy because I had a very big word with that problem. I had a very big word. I quite liked that.
Just recreating language.
I had a very big problem with that word because of the fact that it's seen as insulting.
It's an uncomfortable word.
It's a very uncomfortable word, but I had to sit with it and redefine it for myself. But it's because we've been so disconnected with that part of our body, and we call it things like down there, you know where.
Down there.
We put so much mystery. Why? You wouldn't say that about your elbow, the you know what. We're very disconnected, yet we're expected to have sex, which is very, very odd. So it is hard. It's no wonder that it's difficult. And for me, what I had to do through reading about tantric sex as well, and just looking for non-conventional sex that actually focuses on a woman's pleasure, I got a handheld mirror, like a big salon mirror, and I used that every time that I pleasured myself to actually see what my yoni looks like and to see exactly what is happening, because we don't get to do that.
No, never.
We reserve, because all these positions that we get into and all these, you know, contortions we get into, who gets to see that? Your partner. You don't get to see it. Or you get to see everything else that you're okay with, but you don't get to see your pussy at any point, because we've been told that belongs to your partner. That does not belong to you. And that is a big problem. So yes, it is uncomfortable, but I would recommend anyone that wants to kind of maybe start that journey or to continue that journey, just get a mirror, and it will feel uncomfortable. Just have a look at exactly what is happening. And you will see the fact that it's the most incredible thing, that the size of your labia changes, the color changes. And if you want to make it even sort of like a learning session, and to write down what you see, and to note everything from before arousal, during arousal, and after. And a lot of people, the after is the hard part, because you feel guilty, you feel dirty, you feel a bit ashamed. You might feel a bit like, because you were so hungry for it, right? During, you were all hot and heavy. But we've been told that that is not acceptable. So it is hard, but as long as you sit with it and really just look at your body, don't reserve that for your boyfriend, don't reserve that for your husband, your partner, your lover, whether it's casual sex or a long-term relationship. Self-pleasure is the safest form of sex. But we've been told that it's wrong, and it's a very weird thing. But I think starting slow and just looking, using a mirror to really look. And it will feel uncomfortable. I'll say that again, because it will. But the journey you get to go on, and the pleasure you get to bring into your partner's sex as well, is just, it's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's something that all women should be trying to do, because it's so sad that we don't know. And I think boobs is another one. Like, Mim and I always talk about this, but I've always been so uncomfortable with my boobs until one day Mim and I realised we had the same boobs.
Literally the same.
They look the same.
That's amazing.
But it was, I think it's like we, for the first time, got to see like kind of what our boobs look like, and they're not represented at all. Because like we do have bigger boobs than like what is represented, and it was like,
and they've been sexualized.
Exactly.
They're never looked at. It's different. If I was wearing like a sheer top right now, people would find it more acceptable. But if you were, there would be so many judgments that come along with that, because a part of your body has been sexualized to the point where you can't even own it without offending or arousing someone.
Sure.
I mean, I was talking to my mum about this the other day. Like, I teach kids how to make films, and I just really didn't want to wear a bra one time, and I was like, but this is probably not appropriate. But it's like this weird like feel, or like, I don't know. I just didn't know if it was, you know. I was trying to work out like what is appropriate, what's not. Because I often don't like. I don't know. Winter for some reason I've been wearing them more, but like I really don't wear them that much, but I was like, I just feel like in some ways it would have been unprofessional, but I just think it was so like my boobs aren't particularly big anyway, but or like they're just medium
and
size.
even if they
they would be exactly. I feel like it would be so sexualized, or I mean I don't know, I never did, so I can never say, but just that the thought process you have to go through as a woman to be like, don't really want to wear a bra today, or like this
if you don't, which is why I love Chidera, the Slumflower. Her saggy boobs matter movement is because it's so important for women and femmes to see their bodies represented, to know that if you don't want to wear a fucking bra, you don't have to. Exactly. And the dress that you want to wear, you get to wear it. I mean,
it's so I saw something else on Instagram. It was like, I can't remember if it was a famous woman or not, but some man had a go at her for having veins on her boobs on Twitter. I was like, so you just don't want women to have like blood running through their veins.
It's something.
It's too much. Yeah.
Something I've been doing a lot in the last like year, which I think is like really help, and I think it's something that everyone needs to experience more, is just being naked. Like,
oh my god, I actually do love being naked,
because it's like, I think we're like covered up constantly. We're never really, and especially like, you know, we don't live in a space where we have the beach, or so we're not like really, it's like in London we're just like completely covered, and I think we have not really been able to see our bodies truly like ever, and then when we do see our bodies as women, mostly like we see it through the eyes of what's been represented, and it's all so blurred. And what's really like allowed me to kind of be okay with my body is being naked, and like just like in the summer, like I was a lot and like in kind of more open spaces that were like allowed, and at home like with friends, just like just allowing that kind of journey of just seeing your body
and to normalize to normalize the human body. I think this idea that nudity equals porn is really damaging because when I go to Berlin, and there's this lake that I love in Grunewald Forest, and there's a nudist lake in the middle, and I go there every single summer, and I see so many different ages. It's not like it's just adults. There's like children and their families, and there's nothing sexual about it. It's just understanding that that is the way you were born. We weren't born with a top and the jeans.
Exactly, like the Simpsons.
And I think that's why people are so scared of bodies. It's because we don't see them. Like,
we don't see them.
Unless they're sexualized.
No, that's another self-care thing. I started taking like naked selfies for myself. And I was like, this is so good, because I'm just like, what do I want to look like? Some of them I'm just like, I don't know, just like fully. Some of them are quite jokes ones. Like I got this like Tommy Hilfiger top that didn't really fit my boobs properly, and I was like, just popping my boobs out. But like, I don't know. It's just so nice, and I tried to do one daily for a while, which I did, but now I've just stopped. But like it used to just be a little bit part of routine, like getting out of the shower, and it'd be like you've just often be naked anyway. So it's just like, why don't I just take a little selfie? So so that's been fun to do, but it's funny when you're trying to get through a picture, you're like, there's just selfies.
Exactly. And I think in the work that I do as well with Cherry Revolution, I always make it clear that we need to be empowered in all states, because I think sometimes the sex positive communities and conversations really exclude, for example, Muslim women, and they exclude women that are actually feel very liberated and empowered when they are modest. You know, and I think the best thing is that we need to understand that choice in itself is empowerment. You know, it's not about telling everyone that they need to be naked. It's understanding that you can embrace your body privately by yourself in the mirror and be able to wear your religious wear if you want to, because that is where you feel most empowered. It's not telling everyone to just have sex with anyone and everyone, because I think sex positivity is also for people that are asexual, that don't get aroused at all, that don't want to have penetration. It's also for people that have deep sexual trauma, that do not want to have any sexual contact, and that is empowering because that is their choice. You know, so I think also my aim is to really kind of disrupt what sex positivity should be, just like with feminism, how we had white feminism. I think with sex positivity, there's this really ableist attitude, and there's this kind of, if you're not naked and having sex, then you're oppressed, which is not true at all. It's just understanding that there are many different ways to be empowered, and there are many different ways to have sex, and there are many, many, many different ways to feel pleasure that do not just simply involve penetration.
I used to call myself sex negative because I thought sex positivity was like having sex all the time, like, and I don't. I mean, this is another thing. Like, I say I haven't had sex in about 3 years, but then I think, well, no, I have had oral sex in like March, so that still counts. Why do we? But it's like then I'm like, well, I take the date from like the last pleasurable sex I have, which I guess is like kind of, that's my,
and you're allowed to do
the way that I want to like virginity, right? It's like a concept, like I could say I lost my virginity the 10th man I slept with rather than the first. But I remember back at my first uni I was having a lot of sex with like bad, terrible sex, like quite taken advantage of, and quite like drunk a lot of the time. But I was like, I'd be like, get slut shamed for it, and I'd be like, well, I'm a feminist, you know, like I'm so sexist. But actually, like the slut shaming wasn't okay, but also nor was the sex that I was having. And I think if I'd known about Cherry Revolution at that time, then I would have like been able to understand the way in which I was like, I don't know, use it, I don't know, but understand more, like. And I think sex education has a lot to answer for in this country. Like, it's so shocking. But I remember it's classic, some guy at uni was like, oh, you need to stop sleeping with loads of guys, you need to find one guy to like settle down with. It's like, doesn't make a difference.
There's always a guy that thinks everyone should just settle down with another guy. Like, who told you I want to settle down with a man to begin with? What does settle down even mean? What does settling down mean?
But also, he tried to get with me, and like he also was, I don't know, just men. Sorry.
Well, I think men and people in general think that if you're having sex with a lot of people, then you're not okay. Then you must be going through like a tough time. And you're insecure because you're having sex with loads of people. Or even just being very flirty with loads of people. It doesn't have to be like penetration. It could be anything. It could be just like sexual. And
I think just owning your presence. People are very uncomfortable, especially if you do exist in the body of women. I think people are very uncomfortable with you taking up too much space and really owning yourself. Because you're not allowed to. And I think especially if they find you sexually attractive or they objectify you, then they don't like it even more. And it's just, that's why I think with anything, which is why I have hairy armpits and I don't shave my legs anymore, because I realized that was never for me, because I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. I mean, you just really have to, and I think sometimes a lot of statements can sound very oversimplified, kind of like love yourself or be yourself, etc. But it's not in vain. It just means there's one life that you get to live. Choose how you get to live it. You know, it's a privilege to be able to have the choice, but when you have it, do something about it. Because I mean, there's 7 billion, well, I think now there's about nearly 8 billion people on the planet, and if you continue living your life according to what other people expect of you, because they're projecting, I mean, it's too much. I think that's why I will never stop talking. I'll never stop doing the work that I do, because it's so important. It's so important. And the amount of women, older and young, that have told me that I've encouraged them to stop shaving their armpits, that they've just realized that they never have to shave their legs. Who were they doing that for? That they can be bold if they want to, that they can pleasure themselves, they can talk dirty to themselves. It's fucking amazing. It really is.
It's true.
It is revolutionary what you're doing. Because it is mind-blowing. And sometimes, you know, and you think, oh, I should, like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't someone tell me that this was okay? And I think it's great.
With your audience, is it like, what sort of age range is it as well?
So it's from, I would say, 18, which is what Instagram, you have to be 18, but I have a feeling there's also younger people. I would think maybe from like 16
on Instagram.
Yeah.
I saw something, I don't know.
Sure,
but
like 9-year-olds.
the oldest, I think it's people in their 70s.
Oh wow.
So it's a very
incredible.
But when I kind of look at things like stats, etc., to see where the kind of more common ages, it's between 24 and 35, and then it's 44 and 70. Yeah,
what I found really interesting about the Scarlet Ladies evening was, I think it was some stats or questionnaires answers were saying women were more comfortable in their sexuality in their 40s or 50s, because it was kind of this age after you, or they're exploring more at that age, because they had the pressure of having kids was off. They may have had a family and had kids, maybe divorced or something, but that now they were like, oh, I don't have that pressure to find a husband or have kids anymore, so it just became
focus on yourself more.
So that, because I was, it's the kind of stereotype is, you go to uni and that's where you explore as a woman.
That's also
like early 20s.
Is that true for you as uni goers? Is that kind of true? Do you feel like, especially now with the time of Me Too and sex positivity being on a wider scale and activism, etc., do you feel that people do more shameless exploration in university, would you say?
I don't know.
Well, I've only been here for a few
months. But I mean, not...
Well, it only takes a few months. Definitely a lifetime.
I think it's one of those things with like the pressure of leaving school, whether it's uni or not. I think you immediately have that pressure taken off of expectations because of the people that you would have been with in school for however many years. So straight away you've got that pressure off, and you can kind of be more yourself and kind of embarrass yourself a bit more because you don't have that much to lose maybe. But in terms of like, experimenting with yourself, I think it's such a stressful time at university and there's such a misconception that you go and then you could go have fun and you go out.
That's exactly what I thought and heard from just like previous people. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's different at this uni, but I know friends at other unis definitely have that experience of just
I have. It's funny to me, like, because I'm not an external student, but like I live at home, so I've just commuting every day, and when I hear people talking about who they slept with at uni, I'm like, I literally have no idea who they are. But I guess that is like quite a university culture. But what I would say is that I think it's an amazing thing to experiment. I just wish I'd had the safety in my previous uni to experiment, but I mean, through why it wasn't, I don't know, it can be, I guess it could be partly societal, it is, but that's what I'm looking for at the moment. I don't have sex and I don't know if I can call myself celibate, but like I don't really plan on dating or having sex.
It's not a priority.
Like it does upset me sometimes because I'm like, oh, I'd like to, but the thought of getting with someone that I don't know is just really, as like a survivor who took a long time to process my trauma, and I think that was part of the reason I slept with a lot of people, was like, the more people I sleep with, the less it matters what happened, because it's like just racking up numbers, which is. But so I've processing the trauma took a long time, and I think that's I just want, I don't know, I mean, maybe I don't know what I want, but I just think it's unfair to someone else and me to get involved in something when I've been triggered in casual relationships, and as much as those guys have been shit, it's also not necessarily their fault, not necessarily. I don't know why I'm being sympathetic to men. It's not like that normally, but no. So I don't know. I wish I could experiment. I just don't feel like I have the. Personally, I know it's not about
space.
I don't know. I just think I'm not in the space to do that yet.
And it's good to acknowledge that. I think it's safe to acknowledge that. And in terms of safety as well, I think it's important to note that if you do call yourself sex positive, or if you explore, it's very important to also stress sexual health and to be safe. Safe sex and communication is very, very important. And I think even if you are in a long-term relationship, things like getting checked is so important. Just because you've been with someone for a year or 6 months, doesn't take away the fact that you are still having sex. Anything could be happening within your body. And I think we need to take advantage of the system as well, because if you pay taxes, or if you're just existing, you're paying for it anyway. Why not just go and get a kit where you can test yourself at home, post it, and then find out if you're okay to continue exploring? Yeah. You know, I think it's, in any work that I do, I love speaking about pleasure, but I can only speak about pleasure responsibly if I'm talking about sexual health. It wouldn't make sense to just tell everyone to fuck whenever they want and that there's no consequences.
Of course,
of course. But
in uni, I think especially as well, because there are alcohol and these days a lot of drugs involved as well. It's really important to just be mindful and to just communicate and ask your partner if they've been tested. Because I think a lot of people hesitate to ask, like, have you been tested? They feel like it's unsexy or it makes it awkward, or that the person is it's so hot, so they're fine. Through getting sober, I started a page called Blackout Bell, where I would document my journey with sobriety and alcoholism. And I was anonymous at first, but I started to connect with a lot of people in the community, in the sobriety community, and it was very positive. I wasn't able to physically go into AA because of cultural reasons and because it just didn't feel like who I was. I wasn't comfortable with saying, hi, I'm Africa, I'm an alcoholic, because I don't think I ever was. But I was able to create a space that was very positive, and I'd never felt that on the internet before. So by the time I created the Cherry Revolution, I already knew what it's like to curate a positive space, because I think there's always a duality. I don't think social media is just bad. There is some good. It depends what you're looking. It all depends on what you're looking for, because you will find it. But if you are following a lot of diet pages, a lot of weight loss pages, a lot of beautiful thin white women that are always on holiday, you know, bloggers that just show you their hauls, they have bags of clothes. That is all you're going to see on your explore page, even if you don't follow them.
I know,
And because advertising is so smart these days that if you talk about anything in your WhatsApp group, chances are it's going to follow you onto Instagram and to your emails. So we're exposed to so many things. You don't have to follow the thing for you to see something that might affect you. But knowing, and I think because we're all addicted to the internet, we haven't left the internet for about a decade. If you really think about it, we haven't left the internet for a very long time. But I also try to be, because my work is online, I'm in a place where I need to set very strong boundaries about not waking up and looking at my phone straight away. So I do things like that, where an hour before bed, I'm not on my phone. An hour after I wake up, I'm not on my phone. And the thing is, because most of my business is on my phone, it can be very easy to go and check, reply to that message, and then you end up on scrolling for 2 hours, because the time goes by very quickly. You don't realize you've been scrolling for that long, which is another danger. So I think, like with anything, there is a bad and there is a good. It depends what you are looking for. You know.
Yep, I agree.
I think more and more I'm coming to terms with the fact that online is still kind of real life. It's part of life now. I mean, that might be unpopular, but it's so integrated. Like you say, we haven't been off the internet in 10 years. Like, it's still, like, people. I remember I was dating someone a while ago, and they moved away, and I saw something on his Snapchat, like it was like him pulling up his trousers and like with a girl or something. I was just, it's like fucking weird. I don't want to see this. And I told someone about it, and they were like, that's not the internet's fault. That's just someone being an idiot. Like, so I think it's like you can use the internet, or if you're like an arsehole on the internet, you're probably an arsehole in real life, maybe. But like, obviously we all say and have done stupid things in our life that may not be documented the way that they are online.
My work breaks down into quite a few things, but for 2019, the focus with Cherry Revolution will be taking a lot of things offline, because I was saying, it's important for me to not just put everything onto Instagram, everything into just one digital space, because I know that it's much bigger than that. So we will be doing a lot of workshops, a lot of panel event, and I will be making the team bigger so that it's not just a focus on Africa Brooke is the Cherry Revolution. It's an entire entity just by itself. And I'll kind of be planting the seeds to get a very strong business plan to see how I can actually take this global and to be able to empower all bodies on a global scale. But it is going to be starting with workshops in tangible spaces. And I want to do more one-on-one work as well with all people, but mainly women and femmes and non-binary people, because I think there's not enough of that happening in sex positivity. And I also do holistic self-development. So I run small gatherings. When I say small, it's about 10 to 11, including myself, where we just really get into self-development. I talk a lot about shadow work. I don't know if you're familiar with shadow work. It's the idea of embracing all the dark things within yourself, because we live in a world that tells us it's all about love and light, but that is not the actual truth of our existence. There is so much we can be very mean. I'll use myself. I can be very mean. I can be very jealous. I can manipulate. I can lie. I can cheat. I can be all of those things, but all of us can be those things.
Exactly,
So it's important to talk about everything that makes us human. And I run a lot of events where we have these talks, and the first one that I'll be doing in January is about self-sabotage. We'll kind of be dissecting self-sabotage, and because I was instantly going to say spiritual, but I hate that because we are spiritual beings. I don't really know what that means when someone says I'm spiritual. But it's a lot of spiritual work, a lot of deep work, and I want to bring that into everything that I do, including Cherry Revolution, and to just have shameless conversations about sex, to expand in a very, very big way. I'm also in the point of, I've given myself a year to transition from 9 to 5 into full-time self-employment.
Amazing.
So in that year, I have to save the money as well, and kind of start to acquire the funds to run everything that I do. But it's just about making space for more people other than myself, because it's not just about me. I know on my Instagram, it's literally all my face, but it's on Cherry Revolution, I say that I put my face there very intentionally because there aren't enough black women in the sex positive space. And I always talk about the fact that if I didn't put my face, people would assume that it's a white woman running the page. So it's all there's a reason to it. There's a method, but it's about bringing more people onto the team and making it bigger and having conversations that go beyond me. I want to elevate trans voices. I want to elevate voices of those that are less able. I want to just really get into the stuff that I have no right to really be talking about, and to create the space for that to actually happen without me being directly involved. That's what I want. So if any of you would like to do something cool, we can.
Definitely. I think it's so important. Like I love it. I think I think when you're politically engaged, you want to understand people that are more marginalized than you, but you don't want to speak on behalf of them. But it's so important to educate yourself about like people that are more marginalized than you. And that's definitely something that I will be doing in
3 weeks.
You hold yourself to that.
You will.
It's so important, and
we'll do it.
Great. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us on. This was amazing.
It's been so much
This has been the best one.
That's so weird to say the headphones.
I know. I really